Hey everybody, IHTW here. I'm gonna do a little leopard gecko care video here. Really quickly, I really want to do it. A lot of people have been requesting it, and you can see that I'm holding my male leopard gecko with me right now. I'm using a tripod, which leaves both my hands free to do whatever I wish, which is actually really useful. So I'm gonna get started with a little information about leopard gecko size, and also about leopard geckos in general. Leopard geckos are actually a really easy pet to take care of, really basic reptile. If you're looking to get a reptile, I recommend leopard geckos or crested geckos, either one works fine. Male leopard geckos get to about 8 to 10 inches. My gecko right now that I'm holding, as you can see right there, is about 9 inches. My female is about 8. Females get to about 7 to 8 inches in adult size. And my gecko is spazzing out right now. I'm going to put him in a tank. Oh my gosh. Ugh. Go free. Okay, so there he is in his tank, roaming around. Do a zoom. And also a focus. So there he is. Leopard geckos do require a 10-gallon tank minimum. Try not to get anything smaller. That's just kind of cruel. Also, they don't really like big tanks, believe it or not. Leopard geckos actually, in large tanks above 20 gallons, they stray away from their hides and proper heating areas. So 10 to 20 gallons is a good enough size for leopard geckos. I personally like 20 gallons myself. 10 gallons feels kind of small to them, and also to me it just looks kind of funny. Next up, I'm going to talk about heat pads, things you need in a tank basically. Obviously you're going to need a water bowl. You can see right there, I have quite a large water bowl right there, probably a little too big, but you know, whatever. I also have excessive amounts of decor in the tank, and my tripod moved down, oops. I also have in the corner there, I have one side, I'll actually detach my camera from the tripod if I can. Okay, there. Over here I have calcium and mealworms and mealworms. You can feed them mealworms and crickets as their staple diets. I personally like mealworms myself. They're cheap and quite easy to feed, not, you know, like crickets, they don't stink and they also don't jump around everywhere, so I personally like mealworms myself. As long as you dust them, they'll be okay for your leopard gecko. Focus again. The temperature should be kept at around 86 to 90 degrees in the hot side. So in that moist side there, it's about 90, 91-ish degrees. A little hot, but it's okay. The ambient air temperature in here is about 80. Over there, it's about 73 in that cool hide. So that's pretty much that. For substrate, don't use sand, especially calcium sand. People say that if you're going to use any sand, use calcium sand. Lies, don't listen to it. It's seriously a bad idea. The leopard geckos can actually sense the calcium in the sand and purposely ingest it. So then that'll just lead to an impaction. You know, your dead gecko is going to die and it's going to suck. So don't use sand no matter what. And gravel, that's even worse. Like, honestly, who'd use gravel for a gecko? Newspapers, that's okay in my opinion, but if it gets wet, the ink kind of leaks out, and if your gecko, you know, licks that up, who knows what'll happen. So try to stay away from newspaper. Another substrate a lot of people use is paper towels. That's probably a really good one. It's nice, cheap, and clean, affordable. I don't really see any bad sides to it, other than the fact that if your gecko, like my male gecko you just saw in there, he really likes to tear up paper towels and tissues or anything like that. In that moist hide, I have quite a bit of paper towels, which kind of sucks because like every week it gets torn up and destroyed and I have to replace it. But whatever. Another nice substrate to use is reptile carpet. I'll actually go up here. In this tank up here, I'm using reptile carpet. It's actually pretty good, I say. I like it. One time my leopard gecko actually has, you know, stuck skin around his toes, and that was because of bad shedding and stuff like that. And I put the reptile carpet in. He started walking around, and the reptile carpet actually ripped off some of that skin that was stuck around his toes, which I don't know how, but apparently it happens. The bad side to reptile carpet, well, your gecko, when it eats, it can get its teeth stuck in it, and its claws and stuff like that. But other than that, reptile carpet is really easy to use, nice and clean. You can rinse it when it gets dirty. I like it. The best, in my opinion, is tiles, which I have right here. Any tiles really is good for your gecko. If you have a gecko, I recommend using towels. It's super clean, super easy to use, and you don't have to replace it all the time. It doesn't get torn up or anything. It doesn't get your gecko's teeth stuck in it, his claws stuck in it. It's just probably the best thing to use for your leopard gecko. Yeah, that's pretty much for substrate. Obviously, another thing, oh yeah, for feeding geckos, don't feed them veggies. They don't eat veggies. They eat live insects only. Some people get away with feeding them that canned insect stuff, which is kind of gross to me, and I don't think a gecko would honestly like that. Mealworms and crickets are the best choice, like I've said before. You can treat them to waxworms, superworms, about like maybe once a week. All insects, you must gut load them. I can't express how important that is. Once you get basically any insect, gut load them 12 hours before you feed it to your animal. Healthy food equals healthy geckos, so just keep that in mind. And as you saw before, I keep calcium all the time in a dish, and also with mealworms. If you don't have a fancy dish like I do, you could just dust every 2 feedings for your gecko. So if one day you're feeding them mealworms, the other day just feed them with mealworms and calcium. Just, you know, stick the mealworm in a bag and start shaking around with calcium and vitamins in it, and that should work fine. So yeah, that's basically how you take care of a gecko. You don't really need lighting, honestly, but you know, it keeps the heat up, which is why I actually have it. So yeah, that's pretty much it here. My setup is a little overkill. You don't need all this stuff, but you do need a moist hide and a cool hide, or maybe just a hot side and a cool side. So that's pretty much it. Decor is also appreciated by leopard geckos, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope I got everything in here, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. Hello.